Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a book haul. So I've not done a book haul since April. So I've only hauled January, February and March so far. So this is all of the books I've hauled in April, May, June, July and August. At least the first half of August, and I've already hauled enough in August to be like enough books for the whole month. I do not need to haul any more in August. 5 months of book buying, and I have 20 books here. So I don't know if that's that bad, but it could be better. So 20 books over 5 months, that's 4 books a month. It was going really well, I'd say, like April, May, even June, I didn't really haul very much. And then July and August, I had just been like, all the books, all of you, come to me. That has sort of increased the numbers a little bit. So here we are going through all of the books that I guess I've picked up over the past like spring summer book haul. And I have already tallied this up. There are 20 books. I've read 7 of them, soon to be 8. So yeah, no, we're going to say 8 because definitely by the time I post this, I will have finished that 8th book because I have like 40 pages left. So definitely 8. I've got 20, read 8, and I have 12 that I have not read, although a large number of these have only recently come into the house. So from the months of like April, May, June, I've actually read the vast majority of the books that I hauled in those like 3 months. So it's just July and August where I need to do some catching up because I really want to make sure that the books I'm bringing in are books I'm excited about and that I'm going to be reading and that they're not going to be sitting on my shelves for too long, which is what I'm trying to work through with my TBR and trying to get some of the books that I've had for ages off my TBR. It's just such a balancing act, like reading the old books, reading the new books. It's a hard balance. Anyway, in the month of April, I hauled 3 books. 2 of them I've read. I hauled and read Funny Story by Emily Henry, which is her latest romance set in like a small town where we follow 2 characters that are a bit down on their luck that both of their partners have broken up with them for each other, and so they move in together to try and save on the rent, and actually they might fall in love, that they get invited to the wedding of their exes, and so they say it's fine, we're coming together, and they sort of fake date, and it's seen their relationship blossom from a friendship through into something more. Really cute, love it, love Emily Henry. Pretty much have adored every romance book that she has ever put out and released, so obviously it's going to be a success here. Obviously for all of the books that I've read, I will leave my wrap-ups down below if you want to hear more of my thoughts on them. Also a new release that I then read and was The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, which is a standalone fantasy by her set in Spain during the era of the Inquisition. And we're following a main character, Lucia, who is a servant in this household, and she has these things which she calls small magic. So like if the bread has been burnt in the oven, she is able to make it so that it was just cooked perfectly, or a glass is shattered, she's able to reform it. Her employers find out about this, and so they start using that to further their position within society, because although they are semi well off, that they have something, they are not so well off and they're not well revered, but because of this they're able to attract the attention of some of the more ruling class, the king, and there is this sort of trial that takes place where she is showing off her magics, and that's where this all starts. Interesting time period and way that the magic is all explored in this one. And then one that I have not read and one that I know nothing really about is Under the Pendulum Sun by Jeanette Ng, a novel of the Fae. I believe that this is a gothic novel with strikingly creepy set pieces, a forceful examination of faith and the power of stories. So I think it's gothic and fae, and I think this was recommended. So one of my friends had this in her unhaul pile. She said it was really recommended by Samantha Shannon. I really enjoyed Samantha Shannon's books, and I was like, yeah, that sounds, I trust Samantha Shannon. My friend that enjoyed it, but she wouldn't reread it, so I was like, okay, I'll go for that one. Currently, I do not know loads about it. It's got a very purple cover, and I do like purple. I do like fae books typically, as well as gothic ones, so hopefully it just combines some interesting elements. In May, I was very good. I was very well behaved in May. I did no buying, but I was sent 1 book, and it is a little bit shameful because I haven't read it yet and it was sent to me for review, but that is Kavri by Aman J. Bedi, which is the first book, and I think it's a South Asian fantasy series. This was sent to me by Galanx. I haven't read it yet. Very sorry. But I do definitely intend to. It's a hard balance with with the books, and I think this gets compared to the Poppy War. So we're following our character Kavri, who is an outsider, underdog and survivor as they are trying to claim their place within the world. Her people are sort of looked down upon, and now their spirits are crushed, their swords broken, their history erased, but Kavri has a dream and a plan. She will do whatever it takes to earn a place at the secretive Mage Academy and then gain the power for her people to rise. So definitely would like to give this one a try and at least, you know, review it properly. But it's here. It came into the house. It just hasn't quite been read yet. Then moving into June, I've read everything that I picked up in June. I picked up 4 things and they have all been read. So that is a success. Mostly, they're all new releases. All of them were new releases. So that probably, you know, that might be a reason why they're all read, because I was excited for them all, that I was like, yes, these are all new, must read them. So I picked up When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker, which is a fantasy romance, very much with dragons. This is the Waterstones edition with beautiful sprayed or stenciled edge. It's got a really interesting world building with these, when dragons die, they go up into the sky and they form these sort of moons, but every now and again these moons will crash down to earth. We're sort of thrown into this world following our main character Rave, and she's this assassin type figure as she goes about meeting justice in this world before things go a little bit awry, and she ends up coming across this male who you expect is going to be a love interest. But there's a lot more like going on to it that you don't expect when you go in, especially because you're so thrust into the action and the drama of things. Really interesting world, and we're definitely excited to continue on with this series whenever the next books come out. I then also have 2 romances that I picked up in June. So Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, which is her latest release, and it's set in the same world as a couple of her other romances, Part of Your World and Yours Truly. In this one we are following 2 characters, and Justin posts online at the beginning of the book saying, I'm cursed, everybody that I date goes on to find their soulmate once we break up, and our female main character Emma says, same that happens to me, how about we date and then that will like counterbalance and we'll both go on to find our soulmates, when actually they're just going to be finding each other. It's set in Minnesota, and I'd say with this it does have that cute romance feel, but it also has a very serious undertone to it. There are a lot of serious topics covered in this that our 2 characters are going through, and so it does definitely have a serious tone to it. So I would prepare going in that you're not going to have the same lightness that is in some of her other books. I think there is typically like a serious topic in her books, but there's just maybe a couple more in this one. Speaking of romances with some slightly more serious topics, I've got Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. This is definitely her more serious of romances, and it is back in the STEM field where we follow 2 characters that are at this company. Rue has been working there for many years, she's very loyal to it, and then Eli is in the company that is acquiring this company that Rue works in, and so it's that sort of conflict of interest with them having met the night before this acquisition is all confirmed, and then trying to refrain from acting on the chemistry that they have because they know that it's going to put them in an awkward position with the way that their companies are like interacting. And then I have The Gods Below by Andrea Stewart, which is her latest fantasy release. It is the first book in, I believe it's a trilogy set in a very interesting world where this god is slowly remaking the world, but every time he remakes it, the world is completely changed, and either for humans you either completely vanish, die, or you turn into a not human, so somebody with like wings and horns and things. And so all the humans are fleeing to get into the non-changed over lands, and we follow 2 sisters, one of whom has managed to flee into a non-human land, one of them who has been left behind, and it's them trying to get back to each other and also being on sort of opposing sides of this world, one of them who supports this god and what they're doing, and the other one who doesn't, and lots of interesting perspectives and characters in this one. Right, we're now moving into July and August, so a lot of these books I have not read, so my synopsis will probably fall off a cliff as we move into this second half, because I will not be knowing so much about them. We're going to be facing some challenges. we'll see how the Snopside keep going. But the first one I can definitely talk about, that is A Murderous Relation by Deanna Rayborn, the 5th book in the Veronica Speedwell series. I am very nearly finished with this one. So close, so close. I've been really enjoying this series. I actually haven't read a book in the series for a little while because I was waiting to get my hands on this one. It was been a little bit of a struggle in the UK to find the 5th book, but I recently went to the US on holiday and I made sure I looked up which Barnes & Noble had this book and made sure we revisited that one so that I could get this one, because I had all the others. I had all the other ones, just struggled with the 5th one. Currently really enjoying this one. It's a historical mystery series. Each book follows a sort of separate mystery, but there's definitely an overarching plot going on throughout them. Definitely feels very overarching in this one. And for our main character Veronica, who is a butterfly collector, and the adventures that she gets up to with our sort of male main character Stoker, and seeing the romance blossoming, the very slow burn romance blossoming between them. Then I was gifted for my birthday by my friend Joanna, Laura Olympus Volume 4. So I think she also got me 3. I don't know if I think I might have got myself 2, but definitely got me 3. So this is the 4th book in this graphic novel series, which is a Hades and Persephone retelling, sort of set in a modern era. I actually haven't read an installment in this in a little while, so I'm excited to get into this potentially this month. Whilst I'm doing my big reading challenge, I'm going to need something to propel me through to get to 5,000 pages. It's got a very much bluey, purpley, pinky theming to it, which I just really, I love these colours. I think the art style is so beautiful. So very excited to continue on with this one. And the final one I can definitely talk about is Gold by Raven Kennedy. I've actually read this one. This was also a gift for my birthday. This is the 5th book in the Place Prison series, which is a fantasy romance series, and the start of it is centred around King Midas, who, had the gold touch, was able to turn things into gold. And we're following our main character Oren, who is sort of his prisoner or pet, but is kept within a cage within his castle, and just her slowly realising that she's not being kept in the best of circumstances, and rising out and up out of that as Midas is trying to take over control of more and more countries within this world. It's very much expands from there. We're in a very different place by the time we get to here, and yeah, this is the penultimate book, so the 6th book should be coming out in September. As we're still on gifts, I was also gifted The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chosky, which is a standalone. This was gifted to me by my friend Brittany. We meet up every now and again for brunches in London, and we're both very much avid readers. So yeah, this is a standalone, and it's sold as a gothic, maybe more magical realism book, and we're following the marriage between these two people, and it pretty much says that tale as old as time, don't try to find out too much about your wife, don't look into your wife's history, don't look into her secrets, and that there's something going on there, something suspicious, combining the lush, haunting atmosphere of Mexican Gothic with the dreamy enchantment of the invisible life of Addie LaRue. The Last Tale of the Flower Bride is a spellbinding and darkly romantic page-turner about love and lies, secrets and betrayal, and the stories we tell ourselves to survive. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy this. I feel like it's going to be an October-y type book, although maybe it would be a good one to read this month in August because it's quite short, and but I think it'd be better off saving it for that time of year when the leaves are turning and it's feeling a bit more gothic. And then one that I picked up myself whilst I was in Chicago, I picked up the Veronica Speedwell one, and then we went into a used bookshop because books in America are expensive. You poor people, I don't know how you're affording your books over there unless you're buying them all used. But in this used bookshop I picked up Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. This is the first book in the Age of Empire series. I think it's a 5-book sort of epic fantasy series. There's humankind, there's elves, there's fae, I believe, in this. I've generally heard really good things about this, and I know that it's also connected to the Ryaria revelations, but this one is set many thousands of years prior, and I know that with this one, this details the history of that world, and then you get to that series, which is, you can sort of connect the two. But I feel as though I've mostly heard actually better things about this series. It's a very awkward edition, this one. Not a massive fan of the weird shape, and for a US book its binding is very tight, very tight. But overall, yeah, excited to try this series out. I've actually been planning, I think, to read this for ages and then just never got around to it. And then I do have another advanced copy. This one was sent to me by Orbit. This is Sorcery and Small Magics by Mega Ducey, which comes out in October. Fall headfirst for the most charming debut of the year. Leovander Lovich is a master of small magics, content to spend his days thinking up minor charms that can summon butterflies or turn her pink. That is until a mishap with forbidden magic compels Leo to obey his longtime rival, Sebastian Grimm. Grimm is Leo's complete opposite, respected, talented, and absolutely insufferable curmudgeon. They need a counterspell and fast. And I believe there is sort of like a romance between these two people to break this curse that they have uncovered. I don't know if it's traditionally something that I would gravitate towards, but I think I don't know, I feel compelled to give it a try. It wouldn't be something that I would have naturally gravitated towards straight away. But then I felt the same thing about Emily Wilde, and I am absolutely obsessed with Emily Wilde now. So who knows? Sometimes the books are always telling me, I'm like, maybe I should listen. I mean, if it goes the same way as Emily Wilde, that is. And now moving into the final month, August. I mean, I know we're only midway through, but I cannot buy any more. I cannot have any more coming in because I've got 6 here already, and that is enough. So these books come in like two piles. The first weekend in August, me and my friend Sophia met up and we went to the Book Warehouse, which is outside of London, and it's where they have like 70% off books. You don't really know what you're going to get. It's just a sort of like maze of so many books, and then you can get like fantasy mixed in with like a cookery book or a biography, and so you're going through and you're like looking up and down the shelves to see if there's anything that's of interest to you. Normally we've been going like on and off for the past sort of few years, typically leaving like a good amount of time between them, and I think it had been about 18 months since we had last gone, and every time we've been before we've just gone straight in, no issues. This time this place has become TikTok famous, it seems, because there was a queue and we were queuing for like 2 hours to get in, and I was like, this is ridiculous. This is like, how? What has happened? But by the time we'd like driven out of London, we'd committed to it. But yeah, it was a bit of a queue. So I did end up, I think after doing that queue, I was like, I need to buy some books here. So I did buy 3 books whilst I was there, for obviously a very discounted price. So I got Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Leith. This is a romance. Opposites become allies to fool their matchmaking friends in this sweeney reimagining of Shakespeare's beloved comedy, Much Ado About Nothing. I haven't heard loads about this book, but I've heard a lot about Chloe Leith. I know that my friend Vish absolutely loves Chloe Leith. She's read multiple of her books, so that's where I was like, okay, I know this name. I haven't read any of her romances, but this feels like it could be a good place to start. I mean, at least this was the one that was there. They didn't have any of the other ones. This was the one that I had available to me, and I'm trying to do my big reading challenge. I thought maybe this could be a good one to mix in because romances are generally pretty fast and speedy reads. So these people do look very different based on this imagery that they have here. They look like opposites, but opposites can attract. Then I picked up A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. This is one of her more horror or gothic-y style books, and it's set in a North Carolina suburb with family secrets are always in bloom. So I think we're following our main character Samantha, who has returned home to her family home only to find that everything has changed. Gone is the eclectic warmth Samantha expects. Instead, the walls are sterile white. Now it's very important to say grace before dinner, and her mother won't hear a word against Samantha's long dead and little missed grandmother, who was the first to put down roots in this small southern town. The longer Sam stays, the stranger things get, and every day more vultures circle overhead. So a weird one. I've only read T. Kingfisher's sort of fantasy style books. I've not read any of her more horror ones. I mean, this one's quite pretty. But as soon as I saw it there, I was like, well, I know I like this author. I know I like her works from the fantasy that I've read, so why don't I give this one a try? It's only short as well, so I thought, why not? And it will fit in with my rest of my T. Kingfisher books, so slowly but surely building a little collection. And then the final one that I got there was The Principle of Moments by Esme Jakiemi Pearson, which is the start of a sci-fi series, I believe. I believe it's a series. I actually haven't looked that much into it. I've just seen this book around. I've seen it around, and I think I've seen Esme at events, but I actually haven't researched that much into it. But I do think it's got a really pretty cover and like the colour scheme. It's set in 2 different times, 6000 and 66, where humans are like indentured slaves as they are trying to pay off this debt. And we're following a main character, Asher, who is just a cog in that general wheel. And we're also following a character called Obi from 1812, who has been time traveling around, and he says he's like done with it and is no longer time traveling until he hears about the ghost of a girl in the British Museum, a girl from another time. And so Obi and Ash's paths are going to cross in a prophecy. I do like multi-dimensional, like multi-timeline stories and how they connect. So this definitely sounds intriguing. I don't feel like I've heard anybody that's actually read it. I just feel like I've seen this book around, and I was like, yeah, you can come home with me. I've had my eye on you. I've got good vibes about you. And then the final 3 are books that I picked up from Books Please, which is a UK-based book website company. So I've used them before. I do have an affiliate code, which is linked down below, which gives you like 5% off your order, but then I also get a commission from it. But I've generally had a pretty good experience with them and their books. I think their pricing is very good. They have like a fixed price for both the UK and for Europe, and then I think it's done by like weight for elsewhere. Yeah, I picked up some more books from them, and they also have books that are hard to find. They have books that are hard to find here. So it's where I picked up the majority of my Veronica Speedwell books, because they had all of them apart from book 5. But it is good for getting those elusive editions. So I did get some like standard books this time around, but I picked up Silverthorn, which is the 3rd book in the Magician series by Raymond E. Fiennes. So I read the first 2 in their like 1 book bind up in the month of July. And enjoyed them, so I'm planning to continue on. I did only pick up the 3rd one. I could have picked up the 4th as well. I wanted to pace myself. I didn't want to buy too many. I picked up this 3rd one. Excited to see what happens in the rest of the series and see where it goes. It's very classical. I've been following my character Pug, who is training to become a master magician, although he's probably a bit more of a master by this point in the story, but starts off training to become a master magician, and then the world gets attacked from these forces from elsewhere. I also picked up, as it's been a little while, Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie, which is the first of the standalones in the First Law world. I read the First Law trilogy last year, really enjoyed it, and then I was like, I need a little break, I think, from this, so took I guess a year off, and then I decided that I wanted to pick up the first of the standalones. I'm really excited for the 2nd trilogy. I'm not so excited about these standalones. They just don't speak to me in the same way that 2nd trilogy does, but I believe I do need to read these to get like the best like experience out of it. So this is the first one. I think this is a revenge-centered story. A character that's seeking their revenge. But yeah, I just figured, I was like, it'd be good to get back into this. Like I enjoyed that trilogy and would like to get back into reading some more of Joe Abercrombie's works. And then the final one that I picked up, and this is the one that was more challenging to find here in the UK, is The Cage of Dark Hours by Marina Lostetta. I could find the paperback, but I was struggling to find the hardback, and I had the first one in hardback, so I was like, I want the whole series to match. So this is the sequel. I read in June, the first one, really enjoyed it. It is a part of my reading my subscribers recommendations video. I've had that book for quite a while, and upon reading it I really enjoyed it. This is a sort of a fantasy series where when you die, your like personality can get imbued into these helmets, and then other people can use these helmets to use the skills that you had during your life. So if you're a doctor, your medical knowledge can go into this helmet, and then other people can use it. Except someone has put the personality of a serial killer into one of these helmets. That helmet has been kept very closely guarded, but it was stolen at the beginning of the first book, and we see these gruesome murders or reenactments start to happen again as somebody is wearing this helmet. And we follow our main character, who was part of the police force, as they are trying to track the helmet down and get it back into like safe hands. Really interesting world, magic system, and really enjoyed the different perspectives that are throughout it. So this is a sequel, and really excited to continue on with this. So that is a big part of books that are now in a mess on the floor. Those are the 20 books. Some of them I've read, some of them I've not read, that I picked up over the past 5 months. Let me know how your book buying has been going, and how your book buying versus your reading has been going, if you've been reading the things that you've been bringing in, and if you have any thoughts on any of these books that I have picked up recently and your opinions on them. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!